I'd like to officially welcome you all this wonderful Saturday morning. We're sitting here with bated breath and anticipation. I think I'll just hand over to Lee quickly, and then we'll get into Stella's story. So Lee, over to you.
Well, welcome. And yes, that's basically what I'm going to do. I think you were all with us yesterday, and we really do believe in the power of people's stories and what we can learn, how we can be inspired, as well as just respect and honor that each person's been on their own journey and it's led them to this place, and to kind of be a little bit in awe of the fact that we live this rich and wonderful life with its ups and downs. And so, Stella, thank you for sort of putting your hand up and saying, yeah, let me tell my story, because it's actually a courageous thing to do. So we're very grateful, and we look forward to hearing what you have to say. So over to you.
Morning, everybody. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity. So let me just get up here. Okay, so I want to this morning just talk about some highlights in my life. Sorry, why? Oh, okay. Sorry, guys. This technical is just hampering me a bit. Okay, so let's start. Welcome for. Thank you for this opportunity. I just want to talk about the highlights in my life and what have led me to start this new career path. So first of all, this is my dear family. This is my dad with the two loves of his life at the moment. He's 74 years and still very fit and young, still working as well. This is my beloved mother. She unfortunately passed away in 2015, but we had a very close relationship, and I miss her still every day. And on the right-hand side is my lovely daughter, Marilise. She's 28 years old. She studied drama, and she's now teaching in South Korea since 2016. And she's got no plan of coming back to South Africa. She's very happy there. This is my youngest, Yaku. He just turned 26 yesterday. He studied computer science, and he's currently working for FNB in the IT department. Okay, so, and this is my cat praying. I'm still trying to figure out what she's praying for, but she keeps me company every day. Okay, so I just want to share some highlights of life challenges that I had overcome or tried to overcome during my life. So I think the first biggest challenge was in my matric year. I was born in Pretoria, but my family relocated to Empangeni in KZN, and I was there in school up to standard 9, the newer days, grade 11. So at the end of my standard 9 year, my dad got a new job in Joburg, and we relocated to Johannesburg in my matric year. So I had to not only start a new school in my matric year, but a new province. The curriculum was very different. I had to actually change one of my subjects because the curriculum was so different in those days between the provinces. And I had to make new friends in my last year of matric, where it's actually the highlight of your year. But I'm very grateful that I made lovely friends, that I'm still today have good friendships with. And I matriculated with full exemption. I went to UJ after school to study BCom Industrial Psychology. because I wanted to go into human resources. During my studies in my first year, I met my husband. Within 6 months, we wanted to get divorced, and my dad said, no, you will first finish your degree. So when I got my degree at the end of my third year, we got married. I was 21, still very young. My first job was, I wanted to go into human resources, but I couldn't find a position in human resources. I'll never forget my first interview that I went for was with a mining company in human resources. And the guy that interviewed me said to me, you know what, you're a white woman, and now just think this was in 1989. And he said, no black person will listen to a white woman. So I was a bit discouraged about that, but then I thought, no, this is not going to let me down. But I ended up working for an economist doing graphs on interest rates and interest rate projections. Okay, so long story short, later on, I ended up in finance department. My husband got quite a few job opportunities, so we moved a lot around. We moved from Joburg to Kwambanambi. It's just north of Empangeni. We moved from Kwambanambi to Empangeni to Pongola to Durban. And when we were in Durban, I started working for MultiChoice on a contract basis. And then luckily about 6 months later, there was a permanent position in finance, and I got a position there. But during our time in Durban, it was very tough, and my husband was retrenched twice. And the second time around, when he was retrenched, there was a job opportunity for me in Johannesburg at MultiChoice. Not as what, but fleet administrator, doing purchasing the fleet for MultiChoice and also doing the staff insurance for their vehicles. So at that time, MultiChoice had a fleet of about 100 vehicles. And it was so new to me because I had no experience in insurance except from my varsity days. I was working part-time for Auto & General, where I sold some policies over the phone, but that was it. So the people entrusted in me at MultiChoice to give me this position, and I loved it thoroughly. I would have a lot of meetings with dealers, test driving cars, and so I would present to management the vehicles that I thought that we must purchase. And the fleet was about 100 vehicles, and there was about 350 people on the insurance, which I managed with new insurances, claims, staff deductions for the insurance, etc. So that was for about 2 years, and then that position became redundant because MultiChoice took the strategy to actually get rid of all their company vehicles. They only kept a few company vehicles, and also they cancelled the staff insurance because it was subsidized and the claim rate was too high. So my position became redundant, but luckily there was another position within finance, and I started working in finance, just working my way through all the departments. With every second year, I would get a new position. So I worked myself up until to accountant level, and then in 2004, one of my mentors and managers in finance, actually at the time she was a CFO, she said to me, "You will not get any manager positions unless you study again." So at the age of 37, I started studying BCom accounting. So I enrolled at University of Johannesburg, and I did a 3-year full-time degree in 4 years part-time. So, and I must say, I also got some exemptions for, or credits for, subjects of my previous degree. So anyway, so by the end, when I finished my degree in 2007, I got my first manager position at MultiChoice as the finance manager, platform and content. So that was it involved the costing of all the channels of MultiChoice. And that was also quite an achievement for myself, because it was the costing, it was the biggest line expense of MultiChoice is the channel costing. And I've really learned a lot there. Also people skills, managing a team, where previously I was just like a supervisor, now I was a manager, and I had to take on that role. So because this was a new position in 2007, I took off 2008 before, in 2009, I did my CTA to become a CA. But then it was the toughest year doing my CTA, because my life was, for a whole year, worked from 8 to 5. After 5, I would go to classes from 6 o'clock at night till 10 o'clock, Mondays to Thursdays. I'll get home after 10. The whole family is asleep. And the next day, it's the same story. Fridays, I would normally take off, spend with the family, but over the weekend, I would study and try and make some time for the family. So that was my life for a year, and it was really tough. We barely had a social life, but the decision, I am very grateful, because my husband actually supported me a lot. If it weren't for him, I would not have made it, because he would cook and look after the kids, etc. But we did it because we wanted to give our children a better future, to be able to afford it later on for them to go and study. So unfortunately, the first year I did CTA, as some of you might know, that you need to pass all 4 subjects in one go. Otherwise, you need to redo everything the next year. And I passed 3 out of the 4. I failed auditing, and I was just devastated, because I've put in so much, but I didn't get the auditing. There are other more difficult subjects I got, but not auditing, as I think I neglected it because I thought it's easy, and it turned out not to be so easy. So I spoke to my husband and I said, listen, if I give up now, it's going to mean that this year was, all the sacrifice was for nothing. I need to try once more. And he said, no, it's fine. So I tried another second time around in 2010. And that was the year that my daughter wrote matric. Luckily, I didn't go to classes every day. I had classes once a week. So I had some more time to spend with the family and also to study more. And then I passed the end of the year, the second time around. The very next year, now in the meantime, I was also put on the top program at MultiChoice, where I would rotate and get some to do my articles with the company. So in 2011, I wrote the first and the second board exams, and thank God I passed it both the first time around. And I was very happy, because some people would write it 4 or 5 times, and so that was tough. But I think the fact that I did CTA twice actually prepared me more for the board exams. So yes, Trevor, that was a failure. That subject I didn't pass, but it was also a learning experience. Okay, and then in 2015, my mother unfortunately passed away. She was healthy, but she had a heart condition. She went in for a heart operation, and 3 days after the operation, she sadly passed away. I was devastated because my mom was really, me and my mom was very close. I'm the eldest daughter, and it was really heartbreaking and a very difficult time for me. I can just remember the first 3 months, you would go to work and put up a face and carry on. You've got deadlines. You've got to do what you need to do at work. And then many times in the evenings when I get into the basement in my car to drive home, I would just sob and let it all out. But I got through that. I still miss my mother. That happened in 2015. It's not 2020. I still miss her every day. But I've got good memories of her. Then, unfortunately, a couple of months later, my husband decided that after 28 years that this marriage is no longer working for him, and he decided to move out. So I was still dealing with my mother, the loss of my mother, and now my husband and my daughter just went overseas. So there was a lot of things happening in my life. I remember that was also very difficult. I lost like 15 kgs in 8 weeks, and I picked it all up again, unfortunately, later on. But I got through it. The separation went on for more than a year. And then in February 2017, the divorce went through. But then later in the year, MultiChoice announced that they're going to do a restructuring at work. And finance was the first section of the company that went through the restructuring. And everybody in finance had to reapply for your job, including the CFO. So that was very tough. At that point, I just sold my house. We sold our house. We had to sell it because of the divorce. The house where I lived in for 17 years, I had to part of that and the divorce. And now I didn't know if I had a job. I remember I still went to the attorneys to sign for an offer on my new job, on a new home that I wanted to buy. And at that stage, I didn't know if I could actually do this because I didn't know if I had a job. But I just said to myself, and I prayed and I said, I cannot not have my job, lose my job now as well after everything that's happened. And luckily, I did get a new position at MultiChoice as a finance manager for all the support areas. But unfortunately, that was in 2017. When I took on this position, I had 11 divisions. I was the finance manager for 11 divisions, but it just grew and grew, this portfolio. By the time in August 2019, I had 21 divisions. I remember the previous budget review, I had to do 17 presentations in 2 weeks, and it felt like I was just working. Because the restructuring, the way that they set it up was, for me, it wasn't working. So I've decided, you know what, this is not how I intended my life to be. There must be more to it. After my divorce, I started getting very involved in the church with volunteer work at shelters and abandoned baby houses. And I wanted to give back. I felt like I received so much, and I wanted to give back to community as well and be able to do that and not just work all the time. And that's when I decided to divorce my work. It felt like a divorce because that was 22 years later with the company, after 9 different jobs that I had at the company, which I'm very grateful for. I had a lot of opportunities. I was able to study through them, etc. But I came to a point in my life where this was not how I saw my life for the rest of my working life. And then I made the big leap of faith to become a divorce mediator. I studied again, I did the course. I just recently finished the course, and yay, now I'm looking forward to a new opportunity and to further write my life story. So who knows what's in store for me. I'm very positive about it, and I'm going to do my utmost best, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity to be part of Wisdoms, and this week has meant a lot to me, and also to be part of the Four Ways Forum. I think with the guidance and the insight that the rest of the team is giving me is helping me a lot, and I really appreciate it. And thank you for your time. That's me.
Fantastic. Thanks, Stella. Really, really appreciate those insights into your life. And I think there's a lot of life lessons and gems in that story. So yeah, fantastic. Thanks very much. Really appreciate that. So I'm just going to go around the group quickly for there's quite a lot of nice comments in the chat box, Stella. I'm sure you probably haven't seen them as you were talking, but maybe you want to just peruse through some of those comments as folk are talking, and then we can come back to you towards the end. So Ian, let's go to you.
Yeah, I've put a couple of comments in the chat box. You know, when Stella first came on a short while ago, there was this quiet, soft-spoken young lady, and I thought, oh my goodness, you know. And suddenly, when you hear the story, I mean, I put in there, you know, it's incredible. Your resilience, your strength, your skills, your talent, you know, and what you've gone through to come out the other side is absolutely amazing, quite inspiring. And you know, as I said, you know, we're very grateful to be on the Wisdoms team. So I think we're very blessed to have you as part of the team. Well done.
Thank you so much. That's kind of you.
Thanks, Ian. Mpho, your thoughts on Stella's story?
I'm sure you could like see me being all animated and being moved by this story. I love it so much, Stella. I think going back to school at age 37, I love that so much, and you went and got a degree. So you know, this is what you had to do to get to the next step. You went for it and you did it, and you had the right support. I love that you keep on reinventing yourself. You know, there's no obstacles, it's just detours, and you take them. And I love this idea that you follow your bliss. You made a decision that this is not working for me, this is what I want to do. You take those leaps of faith. I mean, I can't even breathe. I love it.
Thank you. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mpho, and I love your passionate response to that. So fantastic. Thanks for that. Pierre, yes.
Hi, Stella. Yeah, it's just the strength that, you know, that you've had a focus, and yes, there was detours, but the focus was there, and the strength that you've said, you know, you will achieve.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, Pierre. Steve, your thoughts?
Thanks, Owen. Yeah, Stella, I know the pressure of studying and having a family and working and everything at the same time. So I just want to commend you on that. That's phenomenal. I was very inspired by your story and this kind of sense of being knocked down, but not lying on the ground, being willing to get back up and carry on moving forward. Really inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks, Steve.
Great, thanks, Steve. Stella.
Morning, everyone. Amazing journey, Stella. Amazing journey, amazing life journey. Very inspiring. Thank you so much for sharing. There's so much in it. Where would one even begin? But I mean, just your faith to keep going, to keep starting, to decide to keep going is very inspirational to me. Thank you so much for sharing, Stella.
Thank you, Stella.
Great, thanks, Stella. Grant, your thoughts?
Wow, Stella, thank you very much for that. Thank you for being vulnerable and at the same time telling us about the strength in your life. Tell me, when you went back to study, did you find, besides for the fact that it was a lot of work on with the family and everything, did you find it easier to get through the work or to assimilate the work, having maybe a different focus in life?
You know what? I think looking back, I don't know how I did it. It was just, this is what I need. I took it day for day. I think there was a lot of planning involved as well, because there was obviously there was family gatherings and stuff that you need to plan your life a lot, you know, to make. I still had my day job. I had to do that. I had to make time for my family, and I had to study. So I think a lot of planning was involved. And also, you know, the support. I think if it weren't for my ex-husband, and listen, we are divorced, and you will not believe me, but in December I went on a holiday with him because my daughter was here from South Korea for 2 weeks. And I said to him, listen, we've only got 2 weeks with Marilise. We cannot split it up. So we all went on holiday together. So, you know, but that's just the person that he is as well. And he gave me that support. Although the marriage didn't last, we still friends, and I give him that credit, because if it weren't for him, I wouldn't have made it, you know. So I think it's very important to have that support.
Great, thanks for that, Stella. Well done. Nozipho, your thoughts?
I think I had to hold back a tear there while you were going on, but I'm in awe, Stella, of what you've been through and how you've overcome it. And what touched me particularly was it would have been easy for anyone to see your journey as having gone through a lot of losses. But, you know, you then come towards the end and you say you decided you had gained so much and you wanted to give back. So that touched. You're a brave woman. Thanks for sharing your story.
Great, thanks, Nozipho. Jasper, your thoughts?
I was reminded, having attended many sessions from the late Miles Monroe, he would love during his talks to say, turn to your neighbor and say to him, you don't know who I am. And I think we all don't know who the other person is, the strength in another person. So Stella, that's commendable. I'm just curious about your journey. I'm fascinated by you ending up, if I heard correctly, you've got a CA.
Yes.
Now that's not any degree. That's not somewhat anything, you know, like that is a massive thing. And and it's a 20-year journey in that field. And then I'm curious to say, and I can see from your own pain and hurt how you ended up being a divorce mediator. But I'm still at a bit of a loss there. What made the jump from CA, world of finance, high corporate, all the pain, and it's a tough world there, and you've survived it. And then now you're in divorce mediator. So the thing that just comes up in me, it's fine. It's an interesting little bit of a detour in your journey, but I don't think this is the end of your journey.
Yeah, I think you're right, Jasper. So I think from the start, my first degree was BCom Industrial Psychology. So I wanted to work with people and more the humane aspect. I'm so interested in people. I don't talk a lot. I listen more, and I can sit in a coffee shop and just watch people. It is fascinating to me. But the way that my life turned out, I ended up in finance, and I always wanted to better myself and improve. And I think it was just how life turned out, but that wasn't my first passion. I was dealt the cards of starting in finance, and by the time that I was actually doing well in finance and I wanted to move to HR, I had to start at the bottom again, and I wasn't prepared to do that. And there was many times that I think, I would love have be able to work in HR, to be more involved with people, and it was just, it didn't work out that way. And I think you are so focused on what you need to do every day that you keep on doing what you do until the carpet is being pulled out from underneath you. And also, 10 years ago, financially, it would have not been viable to take a different route. And I had the prospect that I wanted to give an education to both my kids. And, it wasn't feasible to make a career move at that time. Where now I'm independent, I've got my children are independent from me. I've only got to look after myself. And I got this opportunity of making a different tour. I think I was over-financed. It was just draining for me. It wasn't my passion anymore because, working 12, 14 hours, I was finance manager for 21 divisions. It was not what I signed up for. And it didn't give me life. It felt like it was draining me. And I wanted some life again within me and make a difference in people's lives. And I think that's what I can do in a mediation, to make sure that both parties get the best outcome of a divorce, to make sure that the kids are looked after in the divorce settlement, etc. Yeah. Hope it answers your question.
Great, Stella. I think it answers lots of questions, and I think some really good points there about the choices we make, and the reasons why we make them. So fantastic answer there. So Cecile, let's come to you.
It's fantastic story, Stella. The first day that I met Stella, she's actually sat next to me at the chamber, and and introduced herself. She said that she was in finance. She was a bean counter, and then she shared a bit that she does the work with the children in the shelters and stuff. So I thought, wow, that's not often that you get that type of combination of people. So that was so interesting, and I'd forgotten about that until she started her story now today, and then I realized, my word, that's a hard journey. And I can, as a child living in a household where parents are studying, I can quite relate to that, because my dad also studied during when the time he studied his degree at UNISA as well, while we were children. And then my mom, when we were in high school, my mom was a nurse, and in high school she went back and she studied midwifery. So she became a midwife while we were in high school. So I knew what it was to have parents in the house that study. And don't worry, Stella, it's not too bad. Your children don't resent you for that. They look up to you for that. So it's a good lesson in resilience to them as well. And I'm sure you can see that it actually turned out well for both your children. Well done.
Thank you.
Right, thanks, Cecile. Trevor.
Whoops, catching me working flat out here, because I think I want to wrap it up with something that I saw yesterday. Stella, phenomenal story, but I think it builds upon, I hope this comes out. I read this yesterday on LinkedIn, and I was absolutely amazed with it, and you just actually multiply my awe. And this came from Umpo. I assume it's this Umpo on this side. And Umpo turned around and said, geez, I'm so happy about Wisdom's chats, talking about herself being a mother, a wife, running business, and she's met with all these amazing people, sort of things. So I looked through the list and I wondered who you were talking about, Umpo, because I was sitting there before you sent this and said, man, I'm so happy that Umpo and Zappa and these type of people have come on board so that we can start actually growing with all the inputs. And here you turning around and saying, gee, we're so happy to be part of these people. And now you hear Stella's story and you can see this thing that we are playing around with, this journey. When I started 21 days ago, as Stella says, I had a dark moustache. It's now gone gray. And that's because I've been listening to all your stories at this stage. I think we've got something very exciting here. And if we can have 100, 200, 300, 1,000 people with stories like this, I think this journey is going to end up at a huge finish line. So I just want to compliment the Stellanator and make certain that we invite more and more real people with real challenges who have got real stories. I'm so excited with what I've heard here today and with what I've read. Thank you, Umpo and Nozipho. Yeah.
Thanks, Trev. So Lee, I think over to you to wrap up, and then we'll call it a day, a morning for this morning. I hope the rest of the day goes great, but over to you, Lee.
I know that we are after the half an hour, but Stella, maybe could you just say in a sentence or two, because you spent a lot of time reflecting on your life and what were the highlights of, the challenges that you wanted to share with us, and then you shared with us. And could you just tell us a little bit about your reflection on that experience of thinking about your story and then sharing it this morning?
Funny enough, I woke up this morning and I thought about it, and I when I was doing the reflection, I thought of the choices that is brought upon you, not choices, choices that you make, but also choices that other people make in your life. For instance, when I had to start matric, it wasn't in a new school. It wasn't my choice. It was my dad's choice. The divorce, it wasn't my choice. It was my ex-husband's choice. But I think it is, and I thought about it. It is how you deal with the. Or let me rather say this, the choices that you make is determine your future. And also if a choice was made for you by someone else, it depends on your reaction to it. I could have reacted, say for instance, with my divorce, ending up a bitter old woman and don't want to speak to my ex, and but that was a conscious decision that I made, that remember the good things that we had. We had 2 beautiful children, and and all the good things that was there, and this is life, and you just carry on and make the best of, not to dwell in the negative of an outcome of a choice.
Thanks so much, Stella. So you've heard how touched and meaningful we've just found your story, and just so appreciate your willingness to share a very, very real experience of life that we can truly identify with, and also admire and respect how you've gone through the various ways that life has been thrown at you, and then how you've responded. So thank you so much for that. And I think just what you've said now just triggered for me what maybe we can go in the direction tomorrow. And I think about Nozipho talking about internal locus of control, and you talking about choices. and therefore thinking tomorrow about what are the decisions that we've made, or choices, or what choices can we make. So that's what I'm mulling over at the moment and thinking. So maybe just to stimulate your thinking about how do we make tough choices? How do we do about turns when we're in difficult situations? And how do we deal with when we are on the other end of other people's choices? So those are some of the questions that I'm thinking about, just dwelling on tomorrow. And so in the meantime, have Saturday. Make it a weekend. I've been working hard. I'm sure you have too. I think we need a break. Thanks, everyone.
Right. Thanks, everyone. Fantastic day further. See you tomorrow morning. Cheers.
They say it's a public holiday on Monday.
Well, I'm not picking that one.
Bye all.
Cheers.